Think back to when you were a kid. Do you remember how much fun you had making up stories or doing arts and crafts? If you've ever felt like your creativity disappeared as you grew up, you're not alone. In this video, we'll uncover why, and most importantly, how to reconnect with that part of yourself. Hi, I'm Frankie Saturn. Welcome to my studio. I help all kinds of people ignite their creative spark and discover new ways to bring their ideas to life. If you want to grow your creativity, whether for your personal growth, your professional development, or a desire to advance social change, you're in the right place, so go ahead and hit subscribe. There are a few nearly universal experiences that can lead to us having a more difficult time accessing creativity as we get older. The first is fear of judgment. When we're kids, we create just for the fun of it. But as we get older, we become much more aware of the opinions of the people around us. That awareness can sometimes create a lot of anxiety for older children and for teenagers who worry that their work isn't good enough. Negative feedback or harsh criticism, whether from teachers, peers, or even family members, can leave lasting scars that make us hesitant to create. The second is perfectionism. As we get older, many of us develop perfectionist tendencies. Lots of children begin to judge their own work harshly, comparing it to others or to some imagined ideal. The joy of creating for the sake of creating gets lost in the pursuit of perfection. And it's at this point that the majority of children stop showing their artwork to others or even stop creating altogether out of fear that their efforts won't measure up. And finally, we live in a society that values productivity over play. Growing up, we often face pressure to focus on serious pursuits. Creativity, which once felt like a natural part of our life, can become seen as frivolous or unimportant. This social pressure can lead us to suppress our creative instincts in favor of more acceptable activities. Adulthood often brings with it a focus on productivity and efficiency. In a capitalism-driven world that values output over process, play and creativity can seem like luxuries we can't afford. Growing up, I was really into art. I was lucky enough to have family who saw and encouraged that interest, signing me up for painting classes, even sending me to a really cool creative arts summer camp one year where I learned how to build giant puppets and got to explore circus arts. This part of my life fell out of focus, though, around the 10th grade. My high school only offered AP classes in studio art, and they weren't on the list of classes I was able to choose from for my high school schedules. And when I asked, I learned that AP art classes were only open to students who had tested into the gifted and talented program. Essentially, students were picked out individually by their teachers and recommended for testing if they showed the potential for high performance in the arts. This was incredibly discouraging to me, and it came at a time when I was going through the very normal figuring out who I am period that comes with being a teenager. What I was being told was that I am not an artist. And I fully believe that for the next 15 years. And I know that I'm not alone in this. My story is exactly the same as so many others who heard that same message at some point. There's a major problem with this. Creativity is essential for everyone, not just to lead fulfilling lives, but to challenge the systems that confine us and to build a better and more equitable world. It's a universal trait that resides within each of us and can be applied across every field. Writing and design, music and film, yes, but also engineering and astrophysics and business administration and economics. And while our society tends to commodify creativity, treating it as a skill primarily useful in the arts or in innovation-driven industries like design or tech or entrepreneurship, the truth is that creativity is valuable in every aspect of life, from solving community issues to generating new ideas at work, to figuring out what to make for dinner from some random items when you didn't have time to make a grocery run. But here's the good news. You are creative. You always have been. You never stopped being creative. It is inside you, ready to be rediscovered. By reconnecting with your inner child, you can begin to reclaim the joy of creating. Here are 3 easy ways you can get started. 1. Create a safe space for play. Give yourself permission to play and experiment without worrying about the outcome. Set aside time to create just for the sake of creating, whether you want to draw or paint or write or craft. Number 2, silence the inner critic. One of the biggest barriers to reconnecting with your inner child is the inner critic. It's that voice that tells you that your work isn't good enough, that you're not talented, or that creating is a waste of time. Practice recognizing this voice for what it is, a product of fear, not truth. When you hear the inner critic, gently challenge it with positive affirmations or simply acknowledge it and then let it go. Remind yourself that creativity is about expression, not perfection. And finally, number 3, honor your emotions. Creativity is a powerful way to process and express emotions, especially those tied to your inner child. If there are unresolved feelings from your past, whether related to creativity or other parts of life, allow yourself to explore and express them through your art. Whether it's joy, sadness, anger, fear, honoring these emotions can be a key part of healing and reconnecting with your authentic self. So I want to challenge you to set aside just 10 minutes a week for the next month to create like a kid again. See what emerges from that and let me know how it feels. And if this resonated with you, make sure to subscribe for more creative inspiration. We'll keep exploring ways to unlock that creative spark no matter how long it's been since you last created.